Good evening. Happy New Year. This is the call to order of the regular Board of Aldermen meeting at the Salado Municipal Building located at 301 North Stagecoach Road in Salado, Texas. The date is January 2nd, 2025, and the time is 6:30 p.m. Ms. Bean, Happy New Year. Please call the roll.
Let the record show all present except Alderman McDonald.
All right, thank you, ma'am. Next, as we begin this Board of Aldermen meeting, let us take a moment to reflect on our shared commitment to serve the diverse community of the Village of Salado. We invite all present, regardless of faith, belief, or philosophy, to join us in a spirit of unity, respect, and compassion. May our deliberations be guided by wisdom, our decisions rooted in fairness, and our actions driven by the common good. Whether you find inspiration in the higher power, the bonds of humanity, or the wonders of nature, let us work together to build a culture where every voice is heard and every individual is valued. Let's take a moment, please. Thank you. Please stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance and salute to the Texas flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Our second flag, pledge allegiance to the flag, one faith, under God, one indivisible. All right, next item is a presentation for Sergeant Dunshee with the Salado Police Department. I'm going to read a little bit of a background on this. On December 20th, 2024, at approximately midnight, officers of the Salado Police Department were dispatched to assist Texas Department of Public Safety troopers with a fatality accident just north of the unincorporated limits of the Village of Salado. During that incident, David Holtz, a record driver with unlimited towing, was struck and killed while picking up a vehicle. A candlelight vigil was organized for December 21st, 2024 to pay respects to Mr. Holtz. The vigil was held at the Killeen Mall. On December 21st, 2024 at approximately 4:20 p.m., Sergeant Dunshee was traveling to the Killeen Mall to attend candlelight vigil honoring David Holtz. While en route, Sergeant Dunshee overheard police radio traffic of a motor vehicle pursuit on IH-35 that originated in Temple, Texas. The pursuit transitioned to IH-14 westbound. As Sergeant Dunshee entered the parking lot of the Killeen Mall, he overheard the suspect had crashing into the doors of JCPenney's and was driving inside the mall. He was then advised shots fired. At that point, Sergeant Dunshee activated his overhead emergency lighting and proceeded to the scene to offer mutual aid. Sergeant Dunshee pulled his duty-issued weapon and entered JCPenney's tactically, moving along the path of destruction caused by the fleeing subject. Sergeant Dunshee encountered several injured people along the way. After the incident was contained, Sergeant Dunshee returned to provide medical assistance to some of the injured persons. Upon being relieved by EMS personnel, Sergeant Dunshee then began assisting Killeen PD with identification and staging of witnesses in crime scene safety. And as I understand it, one was the grandmother and the granddaughter. How old was the grandmother? Yeah. All right, come on up. The Village of Salado Mayor's Award for Outstanding Performance presented to Sergeant Christopher Dunshee for outstanding performance during a deadly incident at the Killeen Mall on December 21st, 2024. Sergeant Dunshee immediately provided mutual aid to the Texas Department of Public Safety and Killeen Police Department during a mass casualty incident. His actions bring great credit upon himself, the Salado Police Department, and the Village of Salado, Texas. Presented this second day of January 2025, Bert Henry, Mayor. Item 2 on the agenda, public comments. The Board of Aldermen welcomes comments from citizens on issues and items of concern not on the agenda. Those wishing to speak must sign in before the meeting begins and observe a 5-minute time limit when addressing the board. Speakers will have one opportunity to speak during this time period. Speakers desiring to speak on an agenda item will be allowed to speak when the agenda item is called. Inquiries about matters not listed on the agenda will either be directed to staff or placed on a future agenda for Alderman consideration. First up, we've got Miss Katie Hill.
Hi, I'm here to talk about the lift stations on Church
Katie,
and Royal
can you say
Street.
your name and address,
Oh yeah,
please?
Katie Hill, 1221 Baines. Thanks for having me. Happy New Year. I'm here to talk about the lift stations. I let you know at the previous meeting that there was a terrible odor coming out of it. Citizens and tourists during stroll were complaining very loudly. They were saying, "Why does Salado stink?" And the fact is, these lift stations do not have to stink. Since 2018 or 19, when the village started the contract to treat the lift stations at College and Royal Street with that chemical, they have not had a terrible smell. And so you have a solution. And I don't know if y'all were here then, but when the solution was found, and that was the option that the village went with, the other option that was discussed was some kind of housing built around the lift stations with carbon filters, and the chemical treatment was the most affordable option, and we've seen it be effective. And so from previous, experience, the village has a solution. These lift stations do not have to stink, and I would request that you seriously consider treating your lift stations so that citizens and tourists don't have to go through this. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Will Lowry.
My name is Will Lowry, 1799 Mill Creek Drive, Salado. Happy New Year. I'm basically just echoing her comments. I have both renters in that area as well as my own businesses. It is a problem based on numerous meetings that I attended back when the lift station was initially installed. There are solutions. I have not been engaged to find out why the solutions aren't being employed, but I would respectfully suggest that the image, a lack of attention to that portrays on behalf of the village really is not something that we want to have in the papers. Media outside Salado love to have us in the news. Let's not create a situation where this is a topic that is on the front page of the paper somewhere. As I said, both my renters as well as guests who have been coming to Salado for literally decades have complained about the situation. So respectfully, if I can answer any questions about my guests' experiences or renters or my own, I will absolutely make myself available to you. But please make this a priority. We do not want this to be a topic of discussion in the surrounding communities. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? All right. Moving on to the next Agenda item is number 3, consent agenda. Item A, approval of meetings, the minutes of December 19th, 2024, regular Board of Aldermen meeting. Alderman Graham, do you have anything any questions about any of that?
Nothing with the consent agenda. Flipping on the public comments if we get an opportunity later, but not on the consent item.
Okay. Alderman Hurst. Mayor Pro Tem Bell. Man, you have anything you want to add to this? No? All right, I'll open the floor for motion. You guys awake?
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda as written.
Motion made by Alderman Hurst to approve as written.
Second.
Seconded by Alderman Graham. Any further discussion? Question called by Alderman Graham. All in favor of approving the meeting minutes of December 19th, 2024 as written, say yes.
Yeah.
Any opposed, say no. Any abstentions? This being that passes 3-0. Item 4, discuss and consider possible action regarding any item removed from the consent agenda. There are none. Item 5A, discuss and possible action on approving ordinance number 2025 TAC 01, an ordinance of the Village of Salado, Texas, calling a general election for the purpose of electing 3 aldermen on the Village of Salado Board of Aldermen to be held jointly with a special election on May 3rd, 2025 to determine whether to reduce the tax rate adopted by the Board of Aldermen for the current year to the voter approval tax rate, establishing rules and regulations for conducting such election, providing for notice of such election, and providing for findings of fact, severability, repealer, effective date, and proper notice and meeting. Mr. Del Rosa.
Okay, Mayor and Alderman. We have 3 positions for the Alderman position coming up in May of 2025, and then the tax rate reduction special election. So they're both combined in this one ordinance. I have seen some emails. I believe that the ESG is going to take something, also have some type of election. So we may amend our agreement if necessary from each state. But for now, we certainly need to recognize that we have elections coming up, a regular general election and a special election. And we've also states here on the second page, the top whereas, that we would have a joint election along with the Salado Independent School District and the Salado Public Library District. So far, they're all included. Any questions? None. I recommend approval.
Alderman Graham.
I have no questions.
Alderman Hurst.
No questions.
Mayor Pro Tem Bell. Okay, I'll open it up to public comments. Anybody want to get up and? No? Okay. All right. With that, I will open the floor for motion, please.
I will make a motion that we approve ordinance number 2025-01 as presented.
Motion made by Alderman Graham to approve ordinance number 2025 TAC 01 as presented. Seconded by Mayor Pro Tem Bell. Any further discussion? Question called by Alderman Hurst. All in favor of approving ordinance number 2025 TAC 01 as presented, say yes.
Yes.
Any opposed, say no. Any abstentions? This being that passes 3-0. Item B, discuss and possible action on approving ordinance number 2025 TAC 02. An ordinance of the Village of Salado, Texas, amending ordinance number 2001-8 TAC 10, regulating signs within the Village of Salado and providing findings of fact, penalties, effective date, repealer, severability clause, and proper notice and meeting. Mr. Del Rosa.
Okay, you'll note on page 17 of this ordinance, so look for that number at the bottom right, 17. Then at the very top of that page, you'll see such letter, uppercase C, commercial sign illumination. This is the ordinance that removes the requirement of mounted lights in the historic district. We've already had, I believe, 2 signs, something that we've gone through this. So, so the same standards that are available in commercial districts are now available here. So, historic district, it's names and streets. Well, historic district also takes in state streets, making crazy like them. So, in other words, it's not comprehensive. So, to keep everything consistent and unified, just basically did away with the entire section. But what I did note on there was if you'll see commercial signs, it's front public or private streets. Okay, didn't address public streets, and you have an opportunity to simply state that you may have some public streets. As a matter of fact, you do. Peddler's Alley is a public street, right, or a private street, got public access. So how do you address something like that? This will take care of that. Okay, so that was page 17. Page 22, at the bottom of page 22, section 14, you'll see variances. Any appeals was going to be Board of Adjustment. Technically, there's a Board of Adjustment, it wasn't the zoning Board of Adjustment. That's one of the reasons that I'm not a fan of having signage regulations in a zoning ordinance, because then you have to take it to a Board of Adjustment or a zoning Board of Adjustment. This allows it to come straight to the City Council. Okay, so what we did is amended that section, and you might recall we've had other proposed ordinances that they were created in a zoning district. It makes it much more difficult to get through the process or to resolve these tickets. So, for example, you just had one of the two businesses that came up before you to the Board of Adjustment on a variance because they didn't meet the call you. I'm a believer that if you've got to keep granting variances, the ordinance is not working for you. Amend it. So this is addresses that and also the variance process. Any questions for me?
Alderman Graham?
So, two businesses in question I'm thinking about are Bourbon Speaks in 1859. Did I get that right or whatever? Both similar signs. I think you're possibly referring to them as well. Does this ordinance then adjust? Of course, 1859 needed the variance. I know Bourbon Speaks is probably somewhere in the middle of that or whatever. Does this now make that no longer a requirement for signs of that nature that look like that and are designed in that fashion?
That is correct. It puts it directly through the typical regular signage permit application process.
All right, thank you. That's all I have.
Alderman Hurst? Mayor Pro Tem Bell?
Let me reword Mr. Graham's question another way. If this was in place, would they have had to come to us to get their sign fee? No. Okay, that's kind of one there. The other, are those the only two changes
Yes, sir. Yes.
in this? That's, yeah.
That is the only two. Yes, sir. Okay. Thank you. So two sections. Page 14.
I don't want to pick at it, but I think it would have been helpful if we'd had something at the beginning of this that says these are the two changes, because nothing's red marked here, nothing's redlined. I don't know, without taking out the other ordinance and reading through it completely, would I know what really got changed?
Yes, sir.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
It just makes it easier to go, okay, these are the only two things changing. I don't need to read the other 22 pages to understand it. So, thank you.
Okay, I'll open this up for public comments. None? All right. I'll open that for a motion.
Make a motion that we approve ordinance 2025-02 as presented.
Motion made by Alderman Graham to approve ordinance number 2025-02 as presented. Seconded by Alderman Hurst. Any further discussion? Question called by Mayor Pro Tem Bell. All in favor of approval of ordinance 2025-02 as presented, say yes.
Yes.
Any opposed, say no. Any abstentions? As being that passes 3-0. Item C, discussion and possible action on approving ordinance number 2025-03, an ordinance of the Village of Salado, Texas, adopting the 2021 International Building Code, International Code Council Performance Code for Buildings and Facilities, International Energy Conservation Code, International Existing Building Code, International Fire Code, International Fuel Gas Code, International Green Construction Code, International Mechanical Code, I'm going to stop saying International, Plumbing Code, Private Sewage Disposal Code, Property Maintenance Code, Residential Code, Swimming Pool and Spa Code, Wildland Urban Interface Code, 2023 National Electric Code and all appendices revisions to these codes, and including the following findings of fact: effective date, repealer, severability clause, and proper notice and meeting. My goodness. Mr. Villas?
Thank you for reading that. From what I can determine, you've adopted the International Building Code. I could not find the Residential Code, the International Fire Code. You adopted them in 2015. You adopted the 2009. Generally, when you adopt the code of it's code, a building code. The International Building Code has been around since about 2000, and it replaces Southern Building Code, Congress, and International. They come out every 3 years, except for the National Electric Code, which is also part of the NFPA, which is the National Fire Protection Association. The 2015, when that ordinance adopted to 2009, the 2012 is already out. This is 2025 now. The 2024 has been out already for about a year. Okay. Generally, you don't adopt the most current because what we did is we put language in here. Could there be revisions? They may still do the 2024, and there may be revisions in a few months, something clarity, and that's why we put that additional language. So what I did is I proposed that you adopt a 2021. That's the last edition. The most current is 2024. When we get to 2027, hopefully sometime in 2026, we will be adopting the 2024. Always about one edition back, make sure that they've worked out all of the kinks out of that code. So we adopted the appendices. For example, for development, they have 100 homes, right? Something like that. If you don't adopt the appendices, International Fire Code, and if you don't adopt the appendices, which we did not do in 2015, they're not required to have a secondary ingress egress. Okay, so they've got a road that goes up on the eastern side and a north-south direction, takes you south to 2268. If the entrance gets blocked at Willow Street, there is no other way out. You see? So it's okay, it's kind of flat here, and there's probably some other ways to get out, but when you have terrain, you've got hills, you've got underbrush, sometimes it's just happening in your neighborhood. Now much different than the creek when they have high water. So that's one of the reasons that I want to make sure that we adopt all these appendices. The fire department, the Bell County ELC number 1, has adopted the 2021 International Fire Code along with the appendix. Okay. So we're also in accordance with following the same code that they are. All the other codes, we were asked recently on one of the new homes, hey, which energy code are we following? How many homes are following this energy code? I said, take a guess. If you're following one, you're doing better if you adopt any of them. So this will kind of put a compliance, insurance regulations, building codes, architects are already following the 2021, 2024s, and if they have to go back and look at some of the older, they will. Okay? So, but I just want to try to stay as clean as possible. So, do you have any questions on these building codes?
Alderman Brown?
I don't, no.
Alderman Hurst? Yeah, Pro Tem Bell? All right. Any public comments on this? There he goes.
Mayor, Alderman, staff. Larry Michaels, 1346 Long Meadow, Salado, Texas. I'm absolutely fully in support of all this. I think it's about time to bring the village into the code requirements. I think it will up the value of property in the village and make it safer for everybody. I think it's long overdue. I commend you for taking it up now and approving it.
Anybody else? Nope. All right. I'll open the floor for motion.
I'll make a motion we adopt ordinance 2025-03.
Motion made by Mayor Pro Tem Bell to approve ordinance number 2025 TAC 03 as presented. Seconded by Alderman Hurst. Any further discussion?
Question.
Question called by Alderman Graham. All in favor of approving ordinance number 2025 tag 03 as presented, say yes.
Yes.
Any opposed? Say no. Any abstentions? Being that passes 3-0. Item D, discussion and possible action on approving ordinance number 2025 tag 04, an ordinance of the Board of Aldermen of the Village of Salado, Texas, amending the Code of Ethics for the Village of Salado and providing findings of fact, effective date, repealer, severability clause, and proper notice and meeting. Mr. Yarbrough.
Okay, if you'll go to page 14, and what it is, section 11, sub-letter C, sub-number 2, sub-letter N, lowercase. So you'll see on page 14 down, right above the number 3 there, you'll see the letter N, knowingly or intentionally violating the village covered applications and prohibited technology policies as may be amended. This is the Code of Ethics that governs the conduct of elected officials, appointed officials. This is the TikTok policy. It was amended. We recently approved the one for employees out of the personnel manual and some other place. So this one now is just this one item, and that is the only change in this section. So it now brings up our policies in accordance with state law.
All right, Alderman Graham.
No question.
Alderman Hurst. Mayor Pro Tem Bell.
Hey, I'd like to ask you a question about page 20.
Page 20.
Section 16, letter C. I think the wording of that, because, I mean, it mentions in here village official or employee. I'm assuming village official also means us. When I go down to C, it says that this board can remove one of us from this board. I don't think legally that can happen.
Well, no, I did have that conversation with the city attorney. It can, but there are certain statutory requirements, and the city attorney is part of this, and he will walk you through that. So it can, if you follow all of this requirements, and that's why it's somewhere he is part of your committee when you're going through this process. Because he will, depending on the severity of it, may likely be able to remove an elected official. So
I don't know how that could happen.
Well, and that's what part of the reason is
because this group out here, the constituents, can't even call a roll call election, and have one of us removed by state law. I don't know how this group or anything in the attorney's toolkit is ever going to allow for that to happen, because
I know I had it. It would be best if he responds to you, and I can have. I'll ask Pat to do it in this meeting and to do that.
Yeah, because I mean, I just don't see how that by law, I don't see how that could ever happen.
Yeah, depending on the particular, I'm not seeing any cases. In fact, I've certainly seen them in many places where elected officials do something so, heinous that they have to be removed.
So what I'd like to see that say, if it says remove any official from office, it needs to have, according to state statute, something that makes it very clear that that's the only way that can happen.
Okay, well, no, I can have that clarity or much more specific language, and I'll have that amended.
Well, I think that's a valid point. I mean, I know that you're going to err on the side of caution anyway, even without any sort of verbiage like that. You're going to get our attorneys involved and figure out what we need to do. But I think as a kind of a fall protection for us, it's a bad idea to change the verbiage in that. All right, thank you. Any public comments? No. All right. Then I will open it up for a motion. No, there's no motion yet.
I'm waiting for Rodney to put it together.
Well, if this was asked, if there was a motion to approve it, I'm not sure I would approve it in current language. I think I'd like to see it.
Do you have another motion?
Okay, let me remind you, you've already adopted the ordinance.
I know
What you're
we've
amending
adopted.
tonight is the end, is that page 14 that I mentioned there. So, if you don't adopt it, the current ordinance exists with that language.
I think I've got it figured out.
I think I do too, so.
Well, are you gonna do it? Cause I'll do it if you
Well, I'm
don't.
making you wait. I mean, just hold on a second.
Dadgummit.
I'm trying to find what the ordinance number is.
Oh.
2025 tag 04.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we approve ordinance 2025-04 for the section N that was changed on page 14. And also ask that we look at the language on page 20 that we did.
Okay.
Motion made by Mayor Pro Tem Bell, as he presented, to approve as he presented it.
Second.
Seconded by Alderman Graham. Any further discussion? Question called by Alderman Hurst. All in favor of approving ordinance number 2025 tag 04 as presented and with the specifications of Mayor Pro Tem Bell, say yes.
Yes.
Any opposed, say no. Any abstentions? Being that passes 3-0. Item E, discussion and possible action on approving ordinance number 2025 tag 05, an ordinance of the Village of Salado, Texas, to establish regulations of smoking and providing a penalty for a violation hereof, and including the following findings of fact: effective date, repealer severability clause, and proper notice and meeting. You want to speak on this? You want me to? I received a number of phone calls, but not from local business owners, local citizens, and folks that were shopping around town, and they were kind of put off by the smell of cigarette smoke walking into a building or into a retail establishment or wherever. And they were thinking, is there anything that we can do about this? People are standing right by the door smoking, and we have to walk through that to get into where we want to be. It was enough over time that I was like, well, we probably need to take a look at this. So I got with Manny, we talked about it, had the attorneys take a look at it, and this ordinance would prohibit smoking, I believe, within 25 feet of any entrance to any building. So that's that. You got anything you want to add to that?
Now, okay, there's nothing that says in here about when, right? In other words, if a building owner doesn't put any signage out there, if it's a private property, then can't enforce it. So, for example, number 3 in section 2, section 2B, number 3, talks at the within 25 feet of pavilions and playgrounds. So we would actually put signage on our property. So it's like a cutting edge speeding if you put a speed sign, right? And state law already says that again, residential 35 miles an hour and on and so forth. And goes upon the face of this stop on the face. This is not a single film. So there isn't any notice. If we get complaints at that place of business, they must take something like. So
Which is their obligation to do that, not ours.
Yeah. I mean, there's no way for us to go get a place of business and sit still, and that's why it's not in there. But if somebody gets cited for smoking in front of a business, they're going to come to court. I know.
Yeah.
And it's like 20%.
Makes sense. All right. Alderman Graham?
All right, I'm going to give you a hypothetical situation. Help me out. Walk me through this. Let's say we have an employee of Brookshire Brothers that's outside Brookshire Brothers smoking near an entrance, and then you go into Brookshire Brothers. How does this ordinance get enforced on said individual? What mechanisms need to be in place for that to take place?
Signage. One.
Brookshire Brothers.
So Brookshire Brothers has their onus to put signs in their door or whatever, and then this ordinance enforces in conjunction with or in parallel with that sign. Is that right?
That is correct.
Okay, got it. That's all the questions I have.
Alderman Hurst. Mayor Pro Tem Bell.
Is there anything that keeps a business from putting signage up that they don't want people smoking, that they could enforce by asking somebody to leave
If they have
without the ordinance?
Yes. Private property owners can put signage for even businesses. For example, this did not include no smoking inside. We did. I mean, I recall 4 or 5 years ago when I dealt with the American Heart Association, they were advocating that we adopt an ordinance, and I'm not in favor of it. I don't believe that we tell businesses how to run their business before there's no smokers or non-smokers. The cities that deregulated require a completely separate ventilation system in a restaurant, so that is different. And you're now getting into the business side. We didn't do that when we adopted the code. But if you say, hey, I don't want smoking in the door, I don't know, that's their property, and they can certainly take and have people comply, if not ask them to leave. They don't leave, then they'll be calling the police, and that's a whole nother.
So the same would be true. So how's this work at the cigar bar?
No. Cigar bar would be indoor. This is outdoor activity.
Well, they also have an outdoor patio over there, but it is
Secured and closed or something.
and not in the.
Yeah.
Is it enclosed?
But
No, it's not. Well, it has a lower area around it, but you can smoke outside.
yeah,
But
well,
it's also kind of included off to the side.
but it's not an entrance. It's probably secured.
It is
Probably
it is the entrance. So it's
It's
the
the
front
front door
patio.
entrance.
You go into the front patio, and that's the entrance.
But
So would they need a variance or?
you're not going to be able to write an ordinance that says you type of layout you're going to have. A lot of it is just common sense, and I think our police are capable of doing that.
And it's a place that is legal there. I mean, if that's their.
Yeah, you're going into that.
You're going to buy cigars, so if cigar smoke offends you, you probably shouldn't go in there.
Right.
Okay.
One follow-on. I'm sorry. The sign and the ordinance thing, they have to be mutually supported. They aren't mutually exclusive, right? Like one can't be enforced without the other being in place. Like you've got to have this ordinance, and a place has to have a sign. Both of those devices need to be in place for this to be enforced.
Yes,
It can't be one or the other. That's all I have. Thanks.
Alderman Hurst.
that's the way it is.
Pro Tem Bell's done. Okay. All right. Any public comments on this? All right. I'll open it up for a motion.
Make a motion we approve ordinance number 2025-05 as presented.
Motion made by Alderman Graham to approve ordinance number 2025 TAC 05 as presented and seconded by Alderman Hurst. Any further discussion? Question called by Alderman Hurst. All in favor of approving ordinance number 2025 TAC 05, establishing regulations of smoking and providing penalty for the violation hereof, specified by saying yes.
Yes.
Any opposed, say no.
No.
Any abstentions? That passes 2-1, Ms. Bean. Next item on the agenda. Manny, can we, go ahead.
Yeah, I know that the alderman had a question, so I
Yeah,
wanted
that's
to go
what I'm
back
gonna
to public comments, so I could make a
Okay.
comment on that on the lift station
All
before
right.
we adjourn.
Sure.
Yeah.
And I have a note, and this may end up answering I have a note here on their sign-up form to Manny to please get some quotes for chemical treatment for the lift stations. So just so you know, I'm going to get that to him in a minute, but if you have more, go ahead.
Just the only thing is, like they were saying before, we had mechanisms in place that were executing this and seem to be addressing the issue. So I don't know if you have any old historical documents that support that can be used in conjunction with looking for new bits, but it shouldn't be a heavy lift, I don't think.
There was some equipment, non-functional, not being kept up. So I've got Jacob getting pricing. Okay. I've gone out with Lance to the Church Street because this is like 2 blocks down, and I've seen that side sitting rolling. And I've been to the state coaching. I do smell it at Village Street. I don't smell it at the Drake Landing. But so we're trying to address that. And plus, if you do get smells, how do we address them? And so I'm looking at pricing and the equipment, what it would cost to get it either functional, get it rotated, so it's usable. But according to Jacob, they didn't always manage it, but they would see the ones that would get it repaired, or they also reached out to the person that used to work on it. It was not bid out to competitive bidding.
I believe that.
It was just somebody that we were using.
Yeah.
So I don't have that kind of time. So I've asked Jacob to make sure that they make it part of their job. They send me bids, and we will start that. But I need to know what the cost is going to be. Plus, if I need to have more of these injection systems, what's that costing?
Yeah.
So
I think it's most important in the high traffic areas. And I mean, let's be very honest, that Royal Lift Station, number one, is probably in a bad place, but number two, is in a center of gravity with respect to the economy of the village. And I think we need to address that appropriately. It's been done before and been effective. So, I mean, I know it's a problem that's existed before this be addressed. So, sounds like you guys are getting after it.
It
So
did
thank
not
you.
fall in deaf ears, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Working on it.
That's all I have, Bert.
Anybody else? Okay.
I'll just echo Alderman Graham, because I know what we had worked, and it was put in as a trial basis because it was brought to us as a solution when we had no solution at all. And I think the timing was around 2021. I think Katie said it's a little early because that was about the time I came on the board. And I know it was something that happened after I'd been on the board a year.
Same.
And so, but neither here nor there, what was there was working, and it was working well enough that we weren't getting the complaint. Enough for them to come back and go, hey, whatever you were doing was working. So I just want us to get it to where the process we use to get there, I don't care. I just want it to where we can meet the needs that they have, because it doesn't need to be small.
Let me get it, yeah. That's all the comments I have.
Okay. Anybody else? All right. Next item is adjournment. So moved. 7:13. Happy New Year, everybody. Thank you for coming.